I would like to welcome all of us to the first 2018-2019 Foxborough School Committee regular meeting today on August 27. Our agenda tonight will be visitors, approval of minutes, vote on proposed FY19, FY21 Foxborough Crossing Guards Memorandum of Agreement, teaching and learning highlight, Dr. John DeMarco, Ahern Middle School new assistant principal, and welcome. Update on summer work in preparation for the opening of school, Mr. Yukna, Mr. Heyer, and Mr. Musali. New FPS web presence by Mr. Heyer. The superintendent's entry plan, Dr. Amy Berdos. School committee liaison to the audit committee announcement. School committee vote to approve 2018-2019 school district goals. Second reading of policies ADF wellness, ABA school committee organizational meeting. Then we will need to a vote to approve warrant articles for the Borough project for October 1, 2018 special town meeting, and that will again be Mr. Yukna. Award of FHS track and bleacher bids, again Mr. Yukner, and then we will move on to other matters. Do we have any visitors? Would you like to introduce our special visitor?
I can, and then also we'll do a little bit more introduction when we have my entry plan as well.
Okay.
But we have Dr. Maureen LaCroix, who is here with us this evening with part of the new superintendent's induction program. So she'll be joining us, and we'll talk a little bit more when we have my entry plan.
Very good. That's all right. We've just read the agenda,
Thank you.
and I'm sure you've read it already. You know what's happening.
Thank you.
Approval of minutes. One of the policy readings we had, we are going to, from now on, be using the vice chair / clerk underneath Chris Connolly's name.
If we have to vote on it today, though.
Well, I mean, yes, if we do that, that will be the change. It was only a word change. We changed it from secretary to clerk, so it we'll read if we vote on it, vice chair / clerk. Are there any additions or corrections?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes from the July 23rd, 2018 meeting.
A second.
All in favor? 500.
Didn't we have an executive session, or do we have minutes from that?
Not yet.
We do not
With
have.
with those and the, we should have probably two policy ones for our next one, yeah.
Great, thank you.
But you are correct. We did have the executive session. Okay, thank you. Vote on proposed FY19-20 Foxborough Crossing Guards Memorandum of Agreement.
So at our last meeting, we had the crossing guards contract and executive session, but we did not have it on the agenda as far as going forward to vote. That's why it's on the agenda this evening. So it's a matter of if there's a motion to vote the contract based on the changes that were made, which, Bill, I'm sure that you can articulate exactly from the top of your head what they were, because they were very slight changes.
Obviously, there was a COLA change, trying to take into account their, not only their time on site, but the fact that they have to move from site to site with their own vehicles. And that was in 3 tiers because we're looking at the 19, 20, and 21 year. So it would be per location, $15.15 in the first year, $15.54 in the second, $15.93 in the third. The other component, which is something that we put through all the other contracts, but they're on an off-year contract, was the personal leave language to make it consistent with the other contracts.
That's only fair.
Yeah, and other than that, it was, no other changes, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve the memorandum of agreement for our crossing guards for the FY '19 through FY '21.
Second that.
All in favor? 500. Teaching and learning highlights. Dr. DeMarco, Hearn Middle School Assistant Principal.
John, would you like to join us at the gas table? So as everyone knows, we begin each of our meetings with a teaching and learning highlight, but typically we do not have one on this particular school committee meeting because it is the night before opening day and the school year with students and teachers hasn't yet started. But we have a fabulous teaching and learning highlight because we have a new assistant principal at the Ahern Middle School with Dr. John DeMarco. So we wanted to invite him here so you get a chance to meet him, learn a little bit about his background. He joined the Ahern. Mark Crean, who was the assistant principal there for 11 years, took a principal position at North River Collaborative, so we're very excited for his leadership growth, and we're just as excited to have Dr. DeMarco join us. He comes with a wealth of experience as far as teaching history for over 10 years. He's been an assistant principal. He's been a dean of students. He has a lot of coaching in his background as well. He's even, if I may, just for a moment, the Boston Globe Coach of the Year in 2017. In 2017 and 2014, Salem News Coach of the Year. 2013, the Cape Ann League Coach of the Year. A lot of basketball, girls basketball coaching, as well as football at Revere High School, where most of his teaching took place in Revere, and then most recently in Wakefield, where he was an assistant principal. And thankfully for us, he's relocating down to our area and will be joining us.
Great.
He has a bachelor's degree from Merrimack College, where he earned that major in history as a history teacher. He also has a Master of Arts in Education and Teaching History from Gordon College, a Certificate of Advanced Graduate Study from the University of New England, and then his doctoral degree in organizational leadership from Northeastern University. So he brings a wealth of experience to us, and I can say that even seeing him in action with our fifth graders today with our web orientation, he is already becoming very acclimated to the Ahern Middle School, which I know he'll talk a little bit about too. And we did put a couple of slides together from this morning that we wanted to share. But that's a little bit about his background. And John, if you want to give the committee a little bit more information about you.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Bertos. I appreciate the introduction, especially the coaching part. So I just want to first say how fortunate I feel to be in a great district like Foxborough. Heard so many great things about the community and the things that are going on here. So, I appreciate this opportunity. When my wife and I were talking about relocating to the South Shore, we knew it was going to be a big move. Most people from the North Shore don't really make it over the Tobin Bridge too often, let alone Foxborough, unless, of course, it's to go to a Patriots game, and then, that's good reason to make it. So, but we wanted to be closer to family, and we're looking for somewhere that was going to be the right fit for me and for my family. And when I saw Foxborough had an opening, like I said, I had heard a lot of good things about it, so I applied and feel fortunate to be able to work here. I feel like I can continue to grow as an educator and as a leader. I've heard a lot of great things just in a few weeks being in the school about the Ahern Middle School, about Miss Abrams' leadership from all the teachers and the people that are in the school. So, I feel fortunate to be able to learn from her. And continue to grow, and just hearing about the relationship between school committee and central office and the teachers and administrative team, and how everyone's working together collaboratively. So as Dr. Berto said, I have a lot of experience, and I feel like there's a lot that I can bring to Foxborough. And right now I just want to learn as much as I can and kind of learn about the Foxborough way, and and once I do, just bring as much of my experiences to the table, and I think it's going to be a great fit. So, thank you.
Great.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome.
So you're off and running already.
I am, yeah, kind of hit the ground running and, learning a lot too. But fortunate that I've had some experience as an administrator, so able to kind of, adapt that to what's going on here in Foxborough.
So you just have to adapt to our culture.
Yeah, it's good. Honestly, it's very similar to the school district. I was in Wakefield last year, and I feel very, very similar to the community, the makeup of the community and the school district as well, and a lot of similar philosophies. And, I feel like, really good quality school districts have those kind of that same makeup and those philosophies, so.
Well, there are several districts looking for good people. Thank you for choosing Foxborough.
Thank you for choosing me.
Thank you.
So one of the things, too, that he has in his background as far as being a coordinator of professional learning groups, where we really value our professional learning communities, he brings that to us as well. So I'm excited to see his new ideas and what he's able to contribute to our groups, because he really does have a really strong background there.
Are we going to see Oh, is
Yeah,
that
so,
later?
So, Mrs.
Oh.
Abrams, did you have anything that you wanted to add about Dr. DeMarco?
Well,
Just by chance.
she never has anything to say.
I didn't say it.
Is that Dr. Mello saying, oh?
What? No, that wasn't me.
I'll throw you right into the Was that Mrs.?
It wasn't me.
No.
I want to make that very clear.
No, I think we're very, very fortunate, and we've had an opportunity to have Dr. DeMarco meet the kids today, fifth grade. If I can I segue over to our activity today? Today we did our first web activity, and hopefully later on in the fall, you can get our web leaders giving you their idea. Our web leaders are rising 8th graders who were trained on Thursday and Friday by our web-trained facilitators, Karen Frazier and Lauren Bailey, who are recuperating right now.
It was hot in the gym today.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a bit, well, we spent 3 days doing this. So today was the day the 5th graders came, and it was with not a little bit of fear that some parents dropped off their children.
Oh, I'm sure.
And we took them, and we handed out tissues when necessary, but it was awesome. You'll probably see Dr. DeMarco. He's a tall guy in the blue shirt, and Karen Frazier. So we brought them into the school for a day of team building. And this sort of fits the middle school because this is the first piece. 6th grade has the house challenge, which is team building that will start in the second week. And it travels up through as we shift the kids around and put them in different places. So this is where everybody belongs, which is web. And so we have bulletin boards throughout the school that have pictures of the kids at each grade level with where everybody belongs, because everybody does belong in this town and in this school. So this is where I go and
We have about 4 slides that we're going to show with 2 quick video clips, just to give you a little bit of a teaser before they come back.
So this was where they entered. They all were clapped into the gym. And this was one of the activities that we got. They were doing a group activity, and then this was sort of a team activity where the others cheered them on. And I think you're really going to enjoy this.
connections here with this activity afterwards. Mrs. Frazier, she pointed out to all of the students about the different ways, their strategies for popping the balloons, and connected it to middle school as far as you all had a different way of how you approached it. And that's, we all are different. And that is the Ahern Middle School, and that we want everyone to be who they are and to be different and appreciate all of the different strategies and what people bring.
So, correct. So every activity had a point that was related to their school life and real life, subtle and fun. And so this was where they were on the two parts of the gym. Those were the kids who were cheering on. This was when they broke out into groups with web leaders. You can see our school resource officers over there, and that tall man is Dr. DeMarco. So they led, the kids led the students. And these students were in groups that were random at this point, and then moved on to groups that were the two halves of the two parts of their homeroom. So there were 10 kids and 2 web leaders, another 10 kids and 2 web leaders, and they went over to the classrooms. And the web leaders did more activities. So when they left today, they knew the kids in their class. They went to lunch and sat in the tables, and the 5th grade teachers met them there. So they're pros now. They're ready for high school. So, yep, that was really, really a lot of fun. So I don't think Dr. DeMarco, who spent most of his time in high school, really has an understanding, but now he does. He knows what middle school is.
Actually, one story real quick. At the end of the lunch, when the kids were leaving, 2 5th graders went up to their 8th grade orientation leader and said, "Thank you so much," and gave them a big hug. And the kid was like, "Oh my goodness," and gave a big hug. And it was just, it shows you like how much it meant to them, and that's where everyone belongs. So.
Very successful.
I saw one student who I know was nervous about coming, and I know many of them were. And when he saw me, he went like he was going to hug me, so I hugged him, and then he thought about it like, I don't think that was very cool. So then he high-fived me. So I high-fived everybody. You got to be cool in the middle school now. So yeah, the hugging thing, it's big that they gave a hug.
There were some tears for some kids that started, and they turned into smiles in a very short period of time. So, having the kids feel that way. Everybody at home has a great week this week. They'll have a wonderful Labor Day weekend, and they can come in to voting day for the first day of school and not be nervous.
Right.
Yes.
It'll be great.
They have nothing to worry about beforehand.
Nothing at all. Told them we really weren't doing any academics for a little bit, so I could just keep having fun and games.
This is what we're gonna do all year.
I didn't say all year. I said a little bit, and then we'd throw in some math.
We couldn't not share what happened today as part of Dr. DeMarco's introductions, because he was a big part of that today, and it was an exciting day. And as Mrs. Abrams said, just to see some of the students who were a little reluctant, to see the leaders go and be by their side and really make the difference. As you said, tears for some, and then smiles in the end. It's what it's all about. So you couldn't help but think, this time next week, when they do come in, those tears won't be there, because they've had the opportunity to come in and to transition with everyone together now.
And you can see from the presentation last year, the web leaders will be wearing their web shirts, so they'll be easily identifiable. And then the web leaders will connect with the students. And the leadership that we saw in those 8th graders was very inspiring.
Great opportunity.
That, developing those leadership abilities that they're going to need.
Well, think of the confidence they themselves
Oh, yeah.
gained today, to see the response and the growth.
And tomorrow we'll have this with our freshmen. So
Very exciting. I think, if I may, Beth,
We've always done a really nice job transitioning our fourth graders into fifth grade, but this is almost a missing piece that has just fit in where it brings them together and they meet their classmates. I know when my oldest was going into fifth grade, he didn't know many kids in his fifth grade homeroom, and it was probably more stressful for me than it was for him.
I think
if
it was,
the truth
Jan.
be told. But this is great because it does give you a chance to meet the kids who you will be in class with and connect with older kids who you don't know. And now you have a friend in the 8th grade or several friends in the 8th grade. And it's just wonderful. I think it's a great addition to the transition plan for these kids. And same with high school. I'm very excited. My younger son, Sam, is a Link Crew leader. So I've been hearing all about the training. And I think the kids are going to have a good time tomorrow, the incoming freshmen
think
and
so,
the Link
too.
Crew leaders. So.
Yeah, I think so. Can't wait for that.
Yeah.
And Bev, thanks to them, the administration, for all their prep time.
Absolutely.
The prep time individually, but the prep time with the students. The prep time prepping the leaders, the 8th graders and/or the juniors or whoever it might be, is critical.
Right.
And we can't help but say this and repeat this every year, because there's a new group of 5th graders every year. It's a new set of faces coming in, and we just got to keep repeating this to the public and everyone, that we're going to do this every year and bring these kids and transition them in, because it's a new set and it's critical to a great start. It launches, it clearly probably, won't even know. It launches a handful of those kids in a total different trajectory, doesn't it? And we don't really know that, we don't measure it, but we know it does. We know it automatically does, so thanks for all the effort.
But I also thank the administration, because training all of those facilitators, they went to 3 days of training, and that is.
That's a lot of time.
That is a lot of time, and it's very supportive of the growth of all of our kids, whether it's those leaders that we're developing or those students and their comfort, as well as, letting the parents know that these kids are special and they mean a lot to us, because they really do. We were hugging a lot today,
That's great.
Excellent.
Thanks.
No, thanks.
Well, continue to have a wonderful new year.
We shall.
I'm sure.
I'm sure you'll be back at this table in no time with another exciting highlight.
There are so many things going on at the Ahern School that are noteworthy, that we have to remind Mrs. Abrams that there are other schools in the district.
She could take a break once in a while, but
Yeah.
that's just not her style.
Thank you, John.
Yes, thanks.
That was great. All right, what are we up to next? Aha, update on summer work in preparation for the opening of school. Who's going to kick off?
How about we have Mr. Heyer and Mr. Musali come right up to that table and talk about all of the wonderful things that they have accomplished with their fabulous teams. Been a little bit busy, have you, Tony?
Just a little bit.
Summer's always busy.
Busy time for
Very.
us.
Around here.
Somebody again. Over here.
You might be getting that ready for the next.
Is that for this one or the next one, Aaron?
A little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
I'm not going far.
Can we go first?
Yeah, I'll start with me.
All right.
I'm gonna start with facilities.
Well, I can't believe summer's over already.
I know.
So anyway, as you can still see, we're in the process, we're still trying to finish up on some of the stuff, but we've done, stripping stripping all the floors, all the classrooms, hallways, shampoo and all, that's just a yearly thing. So we've done a lot of that. We do all the filters on the univents, clean the coils. We do the RTUs up on the roof, change the filters, clean the coils. That's just we do it actually a couple times a year, but in the summertime, we spend a little more time in there to really get all the, all the dirt and stuff off the coils and stuff like that. We finished all the gym floors, the high school, the Ahern, both gyms, the IGO this year. We also did the stages, both stages over at the high school here and also at the Ahern. It just makes it really
They're beautiful.
good looking. And of course, nothing else but painting. You know, we can paint forever. So we just keep, you know, we didn't get one year, we'll get the following year. We try to keep up with a regular, you know, painting, you know, scheme. That way we don't fall way behind. And we've done some facility upgrades also. We're over at the Taylor School. We're doing a mass save program with 2 new boilers. Really cost of, you know, efficiency. It would be nice.
Have
you know,
they been
having something.
installed?
Yes, they're in. We just have to we just got to tweak, you know, do a few things, you know. Once the heat season starts, then really we can tweak them out and, you know, get a couple things going there. We also did, we had a little production lab. Where is Sue go? Oh, she left. Over at the studio over at the Ahern. We built the half wall, painted the room. Erin's doing some stuff in there too.
For the daily too, Tony?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I
yeah.
heard.
A
Some
little
excitement about
upgrading.
that.
A little upgrading.
Nice.
And we also replaced the compressor over at the chiller over at the Ahern. We did the year before. It's 100-ton, you know, it's a 200-ton chiller, and there's two compressors, and it's the first time we've changed 17 years. So, but it's 100-ton compressor. It's a biggie. So the good thing is,
Well, that will save too.
yeah, but still, I mean, there's still another 2 that may go someday because they've never been replaced, you know. So this is something that's not bad. We've gotten 17 years, you know, some compressors. And what else we got? We do the LED lights over at the Ahern. We did all the fixtures at the over 700 lights we've done in the Ahern hallways and certain bathrooms and classrooms. We also done a lot of these, like these right here are actually LED tubes up here, 4-footers, that we've replaced throughout all the facilities throughout the whole district, except for the borough.
But all the other schools now have them? Excellent.
I'm smiling, Tony, because I lived at the Ahern for 11 years, and I walked in today, and I said, I love the new paint. And they said, it's not new paint. It really looked so fresh and crisp in there.
Yeah.
It was
I
the
think-
new lighting.
And it's a savings, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It's huge money. I mean, originally we had 32 watts up there. Now we use 14 watts.
Wow.
So you cut it right in
Wow.
half.
And it seems
So
bright.
it's
Both
a
of
lot
those
brighter.
programs,
It's a lot brighter.
basically were accomplished using mass save through the 700 fixtures we received for nothing. We just had to pay for the installation. And when we bought the bulbs that replaced all of the ones across the district, basically we only had to pay $1 a bulb. Our old fluorescent bulbs used to cost us about $3.50 per bulb. So not only do these last longer, they were a heck of a lot cheaper, and they're going to give us a lot more efficiency. So, and I think it was last year or the year before, Tony did all the outside lights. So basically, we've taken all of our buildings to LED now. That's
great.
One of the advantages of LED over fluorescent is some kids have reactions from fluorescent lights. It's the flickering effect. Most of us can't see it, but sensitivities for some kids can. LEDs don't do that. So it should help us
they
in
don't
that
flicker.
vein as well, because obviously they're not going to have that same type of potential problem with it. So, we're looking forward to basically seeing how that works out as well.
And we also built a new computer lab over at the Taylor School.
Nice.
Oh,
So that's
where?
in room 19.
Nice.
I believe it's 19.
Yeah.
Correct.
So yeah, so that's there. Hopefully, we just actually finished that a couple days ago, and we also did the up here in the science wing. We upgraded the computer lab up here also. We kind of configured it a little different, but it come out good. And there's a couple offices that we made. We had old storage rooms here in this building that we made a few offices out of. So moving on. To make room for more guidance counselors, I believe. That's what the offices are for. And that's about it, but we're still ongoing. There's still stuff that we're not done, like out back, the baseball field, the parking lot, we still have to asphalt that. Hopefully they'll be in this week to do that. I'm not 200% sure, but, and also that we've been working on the Booth Field back there, by the IGO. We're getting a fence put in this week. And so that should look pretty good, and we're doing the seal cracking throughout as you can see when you drive up, but it saves it. And we did restripe a lot of the parking lots at the Ahern, the Borough, and the high school. And I'm also doing a little surprise for the kid, but behind the Taylor, they're doing the hopscotch stuff. Oh,
Nice, cool.
Square, so supposedly they'll be done this week, so crossing my fingers on that.
Nice.
And,
It's only hot, it's not rain.
right, dry quick, how's that? And that's it, I mean, any questions or anything?
I'm excited that the back parking lot is being paved. That's gonna be a huge,
Yes.
huge.
Well, it's good that we let it sit for a while, because now we really got compacted over the years. I mean, you definitely don't want to go and throw asphalt right away, you know, now that it's been like that for a few years.
Being able to line it and make it more.
Absolutely. So that's huge.
I think one of the points to point out, because there has been some conversation in town about this, is that we continually upgrade all the schools. So we're not in a stagnant mode. We may be concentrating on the borough project at this point in time. Obviously, it's a much larger project scope-wise. But the point we've made time and time again is, that we treat each school the same. So even though we will have a new, fresh look borough school as far as interiors and stuff like that, anything that's in there that's a curriculum-based item, whether it's a computer lab or, the media centers or whatever, we are constantly working on the other buildings to keep them up to the same
You
level.
always have. I mean, when the
Well,
concentration.
and that's true, but I think what some people don't understand is that's in our budgets. That's part of our annual budget, is to give us that refresh money to continually to work on whatever the biggest issues are. And Taylor, as an example, while it potentially would be the next in line, it's obviously nothing considered, compared to the borough. But it's the only school that has a full generation system that can run power no matter what happens. It's the only school, or the second school now to have this high-end boiler system taking away these 1965 boilers. So we know we're going to be safe that way. It was one of the first we started going to the LEDs by redoing its whole cafeteria and its ceilings and stuff like that. So we continue, no matter what building it is, high school, middle school, or elementary school, to do that type of work every single summer. It's just based on which priorities are the highest priorities, is where we spend our money. So
It's always, when the Igo was being renovated, then when it was the Ahern, but there was a major project that gets a lot of focus, but you've never let up on any of the other.
yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that's an important point that we want to make sure that everybody
I mean,
knows.
and then the high school was a focal point for a while. Now it's the Borough, and then it will be the Taylor.
Exactly.
And like I say, I couldn't do any of this without my staff, and I have to give them the full credit for that, because they're the ones that make it what it is. So I have to say thank you to all my staff.
We do too. Say thank you for us also, please,
Will do.
Tony.
Thank you.
Huge thank you, staff. It's a lot of work. I don't know if you've ever seen the staff move a classroom, but to take all the desks out of a classroom and wax the whole floor and then put them in carefully, back and forth, and it's a terrible amount of grunt work. And the planning too, by the way, Bill, and collaboration with you. To plan out a summer's work, to try to get it all in, we probably always want more, right? But you gotta pick and choose and get what you can get done.
Priorities.
And so it takes extraordinary planning and really a lot of on-task behavior, because you really can't get behind, can you?
No. And I think to your point, Rich, I think what you're going to hear from Aaron is that it also takes cross cooperation between departments, because what we're doing when we're stripping out those rooms of all the furniture to make it ready, we're also stripping out all the technology, which all has to go back in and be tested and be, make sure it's all working. In some cases, we're refreshing, which, Aaron will speak to, but it's two major departments that have to work together to make sure this whole thing comes back together. And we're talking over 500,000 square feet of schools that we're doing this in. So it does take a lot of coordination, a lot of effort from a lot of people. And it's not one department, one group. So I think it is kind of interesting to watch it happen. It always seems to be a foot race at the very end, but there's a good plan that usually is getting us very close to even right now. We're feeling very comfortable, I think, in general sense.
One other point I'd like to make, Tony, is that where you in the summers hire some additional help with some students that come in, they just are so friendly and hello and just really courteous when you've run into them into the different buildings. That's something that I really noticed this summer too.
I think one of the, I think as Bill and Tony said, there's a lot of cooperation involved in planning, and one of the things that I think sometimes, we take for granted or we forget is the schools are actually very busy places throughout the summer. And I know that I've been working in public schools, technology, and education for the last 17 years. And when I think back, to when I started, the schools were a relatively quiet, the summer was a relatively quiet time for the schools.
No longer.
I'd say that's no longer the case. We have summer schools programs running in the various buildings. We have the community using the buildings all summer long, and it really takes that much more coordination to make sure that the buildings stay accessible for summer programs and camps and things like that, and they still get cleaned and all the technology gets reset. So
Which is, and I think, Aaron's really hitting something else there, which we'll discuss a little bit further later, is that's why it's important that some of our buildings, like the Ahern, be air conditioned. Because we are running more and more programs up until almost, I think the last program quit last week. So these kids we're running kids in schools all summer long. So it's not just, we're no longer a 180-day school year and we stop running business. So while we don't have all of our buildings air conditioned, it's critical that we have certain areas and certain components that we can make sure we can run these programs. And that's why one of the things that is out there will be to have the borough be air conditioned too, so that we have an elementary level one. Right now, we're moving everybody to the IGO to do that, and we got to move everything, all the equipment, everything else. And we're only doing that because we have some rooms with air conditioning in it at the IGO, but we don't have the same capability like we do at the Ahern. So, to Aaron's point, there is, I think the Ahern staff probably gets a little bit more of the brunt as far as the custodial, because they are effectively limited on what they can do and when they can do it, and they have to really kind of work in cycles around what everybody else is doing. But they do an excellent job, and I will say all of them do. I mean, really, when you go through the buildings, you can start to see, how everything's
Take
clicked
pride.
together, and
Take pride.
by the time the kids show up next Tuesday, everything will be reassembled. Everything will be back and
They
running.
make it look easy, and they're very
Yeah.
patient. I've, been at the Ahern for many years in the summer, and they are very constrained in where they can go, and they're very patient, and they definitely have a very strategic way that they go about their work, and they make it look easy, Tony. So good leadership and good people. It's a good team.
Thank you.
So, as Tony and Bill have already shared, this is a really exciting time as we finish our preparations for the start of school, to welcome back our staff and students. So I thought it would be suiting just to start by taking a look at our technology vision, in which we developed just recently when we developed our newest 3-year technology plan, because it's all the hard work that we do always relates back to supporting teaching and learning. And this is something we talk a lot about in the technology department, and we always try to relate back everything we're doing to the district's strategic plan, mission, and our department vision. So, a quote from Bill Gates: "Technology is a tool in terms of getting kids working together and motivating them. The teacher is most important, so we don't want to lose sight of that." Okay. So again, just everything we do over the summer in terms of technology and all the upgrades, in which I'm going to talk about in a moment, it sounds like a lot of high technology and equipment and software, and it sounds very mechanical, but wanting to make sure that everything we do relating to technology always relates back to students and teaching and learning in our curriculum. These are some of the things that we're trying to do by implementing new technology and keeping our technology current. All right. So new and improved for the school year. So we have a number of upgraded classroom computers and computer labs. This year, the Taylor School, we upgraded all of the classroom computers in the building. We also, as Tony mentioned already, we built a new computer classroom at the school. So when I say computer classroom, I say this intentionally, not talking about a computer lab where students go to work independently, but a computer lab or computer classroom more so is an environment in which students use computers to learn, and where direct computer instruction can also take place. So some of the differences are that, for instance, the computers face the same direction, right? So they face the area of instruction, versus in a computer lab, they may be positioned around the classroom or on the board of the classroom, or there may be individual study corrals where people are trying to work individually. So all of the other, the two other elementary schools have had these types of facilities. The Borough School, we put in a computer classroom a couple of years ago. The Taylor, in terms of space, it's been prohibitive. We had a computer lab in another area of the building, but this year, with some of the reconfiguration in the building, we were able to actually come up with the space to build a computer classroom. So, and again, this was a cooperative effort with maintenance and the school administration and the teachers and the technology staff to get this done. So this is something that I think students will really enjoy, and teachers will enjoy having access to this year at the Taylor School. So this summer, and last year, there was a number of classrooms upgraded, and the focus was really on classrooms in terms of computer replacements. And this year, the focus was more so on labs, and some of the, in this case, some of the more specialty labs here at the high school near Hearn as well. So the digital art lab here at the high school was upgraded with new computers, and also with new software. So this year, students will have access to the Adobe Creative Suite in the cloud. So they'll be able to access their software from the web. This is particularly important because in previous years, students have only had access to this really expensive specialized software in the lab itself. So this upgrade will allow our students to have access to this software at home for working on assignments, and extending learning opportunities for them. But they'll also be able to use this software in other computer labs and here as well in the media center. So this is really a pretty substantial improvement for students to have improved access to this software that's really been prohibitive in the past. The CAD lab here at the high school, so Computer Automated Design Lab, another specialty lab that we have here at the high school. We have new computer automated drafting software. It's upgraded, the current standards, and also new equipment. So one of the big upgrades this year in terms of the lab is the specifications of the equipment. So much larger monitors for students to work on. This lab was last replaced about 7 years ago. And at that time, the industry standard for a monitor was between 15 and 17 inches. And the monitors we just installed were 23 inches. So it's a big improvement for students, and it definitely is more conducive to the work and the software in which they're doing there in that lab now. The business lab here at the Foxborough High School, again, new computers in this lab. The monitors were quite small. It was a number of different programs that run in this particular classroom, but one of them is automated accounting. And again, the students were using very small 15-inch monitors, so those also have been upgraded. But most notably, the instructional design of the room has really been improved, again, through a project with maintenance. We're able to rotate the classroom 90 degrees. In doing so, reconfiguring the seating so that students are actually closer to the area of instruction. Also being able to add an aisle to the center of the room so that the instructor can move about the room much more quickly and easily to assist students. So these changes, they don't necessarily sound like big changes, but they really do make a big difference in terms of the instruction, in terms of student learning as well. So this was a particular particularly interesting upgrades. So it wasn't just new technology, but also improving the instructional design. Applied Technology Lab at the Ahern Middle School, so we have new computers going in there. Again, we're still finishing up some of our preparations, but I'm sure we'll get everything done in the next couple of days here. So that lab has also been being totally upgraded in terms of computers and as well as instructional software as well.
And I think it's important, again, while Aaron's doing all this, this is a direct result of our CIP. So the annual recharge that we are looking to do each year, I think it's about $190,000 this year. This is the type of work we're able to accomplish, and again, this is why all the buildings stay very similar in technology levels, is because we do have that commitment from the town that allows us to do it, but it allows us to pocket where we need to make these changes and these advancements on an annual basis. Some buildings have been upgraded last year, don't need to be upgraded for a few years, but there are certain areas that absolutely have to be continually moved along, and I think that's, again, the resource we're getting is from the CIP to manage that through our process.
Also very important to know, it's not just computers. I know the CIP plan started, and it was primarily focused on replacing computers every year. And at one time, there was this thought that things like projectors were a one-time capital investment. You install a projector, and then you were done, and you install or wireless access points. Install wireless access points, and you have wireless coverage, that it's a one-time investment, and you're done. But what we find is technology continues to improve, right, that it does become obsolete. So projectors, for instance, become very dim. So that the standard 6 or 7 years ago was a 1400 lumens projector in terms of lumens, talking about the brightness of the projector and the clarity of the projector. Now what we see as a standard in classrooms is double or triple, so upwards of 4,000 lumens, in terms of what's a standard projector in a classroom. So that money, we continue to be good stewards of that money and address the technology needs throughout the district, and not just computers, with relatively little change to the amount of money that we use or we propose in terms of the capital plan.
One of the points that, just as a reminder, as you're well aware at this table, is out of our curriculum program reviews. The art review, the business technology. These are recommendations when we look at the software and have that timeline to be able to work with CIP to be able to put those in place at a time that, so it is timely, but it's direct recommendations coming out of those program reviews too.
So upgraded broadcasting room at the middle school. This, again, a joint effort with the school maintenance department and also Foxborough Cable Access. And, this is a great opportunity for students, to actually get some real-life communications experience, whether it's broadcasting and also some technical experience. And I know students really enjoy this program here. So this is a really welcomed upgrade by students and staff.
What level student? Is it 8th graders, or can 7th graders also do this?
So I believe it's
Seventh and eighth.
7th and
8th
8th
graders.
Yes.
Thank you.
Student interoperability framework. So more and more every day, what we do here relates back to the data in which we manage. So we continue to try to make improvements in terms of using data. This this item is more technical, but it relates to how we transfer and share data amongst our systems. And what we find is that being able to improve our interoperability frameworks, or our ability to share data among systems, allows teachers to get access to data quicker, and it allows us to spend less time on administrative things like exporting and importing data, and more time on instruction and getting using the data to make instructional decisions. Microsoft Teams Data Sync, again, this is an upgrade which specifically speaks to moving data and sharing data amongst our systems. This update allows us to share information from our student information system, such as student schedules, to help build online learning communities for students and for staff. And we talk about Office 365 all the time, with Teams being the most recent replacement for what we previously used, which was Microsoft Classroom. But it's an online learning community for teachers and students to share information and work product. And this update allows teachers to have their rosters updated directly from PowerSchool, and students to be added to groups automatically based on their schedule. Student information updates, so keeping, again, our student information secure, but also updating the system so that it reflects our most current needs in terms of student population and community. So there's a number of updates that happen in our student information system this summer that will help us do that. One of the items specifically is our ability to move to online registration and information collection, which is something we'll be developing out this year, and hopefully rolling out for the next school year. Wireless networking, we talked about this. So in terms of the wireless networking, as the content changes, right, in which we're trying to deliver to multimedia, video, audio, it's not just text. We're constantly evaluating our wireless capacity and making improvements in this area. Upgraded internet connectivity, we added an additional internet connection this year. Many of our systems and our instructional tools have moved to the internet. So it's so important that we keep connectivity to the internet to avoid lost instructional time. Student health records management upgrade, so we were able to work with our current student information health records provider to move our student information system to the cloud, so to a web-based format, which allows our nurses to gain some efficiency in terms of the work they're doing, and to be able to share information amongst relevant staff. Okay. So some of the maintenance things we do, it's funny because when we talk, actually, go back one item, I missed one thing. We did also upgrade approximately 60 projectors this summer as well.
Wow.
So, and we did that all in-house, actually.
60 projectors.
So some of the things that we do in terms of maintenance, it was difficult to come up with some of these items because we just do them all the time, right? But we wanted to mention them because they are a considerable amount of work, and I think the staff does a nice job with these things, and it really does make a difference for students and staff when they come back. So all the student accounts upgraded, created, all the password and security requirements reset and things for students to come back and start the year fresh. Student information reports submitted to the state. This is a very laborious act that we do throughout the years, reporting to the state information about staff and students. This is quite the task. Student schedules developed, so assisting school building administrators with the automation of the student scheduling and building of the schedules, and also linking professional staff to schedules for the state information reporting. Software patched and updated, right? So everybody knows you need to do your Windows updates and update your software to keep them secure. So we do those things. And then lots of classroom instructional design improvements made this summer. So looking at the area of instruction, looking at where teacher desks are, for instance, to allow a more flexible use of space. So this was one of the things that we focused on specifically this summer. So these are things that are ongoing throughout the year. And then lastly, the computer classroom and technology resets. So through the maintenance and the cleaning process, as we heard earlier tonight, all the equipment is moved, into the hallway or into storage areas so that the rooms can be thoroughly cleaned and the floors waxed. And then the equipment is moved back into the rooms. So it's quite the task, and I think if you've ever tried to move your computer, you know that even though you think you have everything plugged in just right, or everything should be working the way that it was before you moved, that it doesn't quite always happen that way. So we take a lot of time in checking and double checking the classroom computer resets to make sure that when teachers come back, that their equipment's ready for them to use.
That was cute.
So, lastly, a big thank you to all. So it really is the hard work of the whole Foxborough school community and the Foxborough community that allows us to do all of what we do for our students here and prepare for them to come back over the summer. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank my technology support team, our instructional technologists, our maintenance and custodial staff who just works with us side by side all summer long to make sure that these things can happen. Our teachers and our students, and lastly, you and the leadership you provide, and the Foxborough community as a whole. As Bill said, none of this could happen without the support of the community. Any questions on summer maintenance?
Actually, I have a question. I'm not even sure I know the answer. I think you'll have the answer. Are you comfortable with security? Is your security setup robust? Because when I think the cloud can scare people, but you got your student information records, you got your nurses' records, and all that kind of stuff. So are you comfortable with security?
So we have complex data systems, and I don't think we're ever quite comfortable with security. And I think that's one of the things that keeps us on our toes. And I talk about this often. I've talked about it at this committee. I talk about it with our administration. We spend a lot of time on security, and I wish we didn't have to. I honestly did. Do wish we didn't have to, but unfortunately, with information privacy and the information that we're charged in, coupled with, computer viruses and malware, and we're quite busy and vigilant with security.
Aaron and his team has also developed our back room now, as far as our firewalls and everything else like that, are far more advanced than they ever used to be, and are constantly being researched and for advancements on those. So there's a lot of backroom equipment and software that's doing a lot of the checking and stuff. But to Aaron's point, it's incumbent on our staff to be very vigilant in what's coming at them. So it's like, I know when I get something that's a phishing thing, and you get pretty used to them after a while, is I don't just assume everybody knows that, and I'll usually send a note to technology saying, okay, just got this one, so that they can push that back out to the staff and the kids to say, don't click on this, don't download this, this is not something that we're asking you to do, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's important, because it really, without the cooperation of the staff and the students understanding, they can create 90% of your problems just by doing things that they think are okay. But it's kind of risky. Everybody's trying to tap into your information, to your point.
One of the, your data is very valuable, and everybody wants your data. So, as Bill mentioned, in terms of phishing, we've definitely seen an increased level of activity around phishing, specifically this summer even. And we've been investigating professional development opportunities and digital citizenship opportunities for students, as well, to talk about phishing and what phishing is, and how to be savvy in terms of identifying, what types of solicitations for information are legitimate and which ones are not. So, again, with security, we spend a lot of time on it. Something hopefully at some point we won't have to spend as much time on, but we work as hard as we can to keep the information safe.
I think your leadership and attention is appreciated, because it's critical.
Things working with our instructional technology team in the last 3 years, and I know Amy and Allison can both speak to this, we've spent a lot of time, reviewing even the instructional tools that we use and the applications and the software which we use with students, and reviewing the information privacy policies for every app we use, whether it's with an iPad or every website we use. And, also you'll see coming home, this is a couple of years now, especially at the elementary levels, you'll see grade level letters coming home talking about the applications that students or software that students will be using at school and maybe using at home, and also helping educate parents about where to go to get more information about how their students' information is being used too. So it really does take a village. So.
Sure does. Thank you and all of your teams.
Thank you.
I'm gonna see if I can just move the computer over here.
So as Aaron's grabbing the computer, this is what we've all been waiting for as far as the new web presence. And web presence versus just website, because it's so much more than a website with all of the communication tools that it has. And the amount of work that went in behind this, I really didn't have any idea of what all it would take in order to get to the point where we are now.
I bring that computer over here because some of the digital print that I have to share with you today is just that. It's pictures and images and renderings of what the new website and web presence will look like. So the website isn't live at this moment, but we're hoping to have a soft launch within the next couple of weeks, next several weeks. We'll start to introduce the website to our faculty and our students and ultimately our community. So
You're getting your exercise this evening.
The first meeting. That was unfair notice to the new guy. It happens in life. It happens. Someone's gonna be new.
So as Amy mentioned, we started our evaluation of our internet presence approximately a year ago. We did this in coordination with the town, and we proposed a joint school-town article in terms of funding for this project, and it's been quite the process. So some of the criteria we used in terms of evaluating our internet presence and evaluating vendors in which to partner in this area, we looked at design, the aesthetic appeal of the sites and the capabilities of the sites in terms of the design. We also looked at the usability, and this is really the ease of use. How easy is it to use? How easy is it to learn to use? And this is important because there are professionals out there that go to school for 4 or 5 or 6 years or more to learn how to become communications experts, to learn how to become webmasters or web developers. And we don't have staff here with those dedicated skill sets. So this is something that needs to be easy to use and needs to be a tool that supports our mission around communicating and improved communications with the community and parents, but also improves instruction and teaching and learning, supports teaching and learning. Okay. Features. So this was one of the most talked about criterias. What was it that the website or internet presence platform had to offer? And some of the things we were looking at was being able to deliver the most current modalities, whether it's multimedia, video, audio, Web 2.0, so interactive functionalities, also integrations with social media and other communications tools that are most prevalent right now. And lastly, support. What was our ability to provide support to both our administrative staff that helps us keep our website up and running every day, and then to teachers ultimately using the new website platform for teaching and learning. So again, this was a joint evaluation committee. It was made up of school administrators, teachers, and also members from various town departments. Okay. So what is an internet presence? It is your website. So it's the district's website, but it's not only that. It's also our social media, right? So when you go to the Foxborough Public Schools, what do you see on social media, and what content have we produced through social media? Mass notification. This is our ability to quickly notify stakeholders of important information, whether it's a phone call to tell you of a snow closing, or a change in schedule or a delay, or a text message or an email. Okay, so it's also our simple email communications and other things like text messaging, as I mentioned. So some of the notable features and functionality of our new platform is Web ADA compliance. So what exactly is that? Web ADA compliance are internet standards that speak to accessibility, okay? So these could be anything from the amount of time that a page takes to load, right? So we talk about bandwidth and what kind of bandwidth consumers have access to, so making content available to subscribers with all levels of internet connection, to things like embedded assistive technology tools like screen readers. So if you're low vision, there may be a picture or a rendering, but if you have a low vision, you may not be able to access that content as easily as somebody that can see well. So hovering your mouse over an image can give you an audio description of that image. Students working in the classroom, right? So then you can use all of your senses and abilities to really access the content of the website. Multimedia content, really talking about the way things have changed in the internet. We're not just talking about static text anymore, but access to multimedia content. And this is some of the most rich content we have to offer, right? So a picture says 1,000 words. It can be really difficult sometimes to capture things and really demonstrate your message without access to multimedia-rich content. Improve school-to-home communications. So our internet presence or our web presence, again, it's not just our website, but our ability to communicate, whether that by social media. As we know today, Facebook and Snapchat and the social media outlets, they really change every single day, allowing us to communicate with our constituents in the way that they would like to be communicated with. Okay, so this platform really does allow us to access this. So as part of our evaluations, one of the things we looked at was data. And what our data told us was that 90% of the people that come, or 90% of visitors to our website, were doing so from a mobile device, right? So making sure that our content is most accessible to someone on a mobile device. Some of the other data that we found were that people were looking for calendars, right? That was schedules of events and calendars, one of the most sought after items on the website. So allowing people to subscribe to calendars, right? So sync their calendar with, for instance, a marching band schedule or an athletic schedule or important half days or test dates, and being able to have that integrated into their cell phone or their smartphone. Okay, so they don't have to always go check the website. They can bring that content right into their phone. And then alerts and subscriptions, being able to subscribe to certain content areas of the website and being notified of changes or updates, so they don't have to constantly go back and check the website for changes. Okay. So again, I'm going to share with you some design renderings, mock-ups of the website design. These contain, in some cases, filler text and nonsensical words or text just to show you what it would look like. In other cases, copy, pictures just to show you color copy. So just to show you what it looks like with images in it. We don't want this to be a spoiler, so we will have a media campaign around the launch of our new website and platform. But I did want to let people know that what you see here today isn't exactly what you will see when our website is launched. For instance, the pictures of students and families and things like that, we're still working on media releases and those items, so those aren't actually of our current students and families, but when the site launches, what you'll see will be a little more familiar. So again, because these are just print copies, they're a little more difficult for me to work with. But a couple of the features that we talked about that I wanted to point out are the mobile responsiveness. So being able to fit, read and access the website from whatever type of device in which you'd like to. So whether that's a mobile device with a small screen or a tablet or a computer, that you have the ability to resize the page and access the content on whatever type of device that you'd like to. So one of the other things you'll notice is, again, when we look at the data, people are coming to visit our website from mobile devices. This particular page is the home page. It might have a familiar look to you. It may look very easy to use from a tablet or from a phone, right? So it's optimized for gestures, so like swiping up to scroll through the page and not needing a mouse. And you'll also notice some of the areas in which you access information may look easy to navigate with your finger, so that the content is a little bit larger and it's optimized for touchscreen, right? So touchscreen is now not just on our phones, but it's coming to our desktops and our TVs. So the content being optimized also for touch as well. Okay. One of the features of the website is the ability for us to try to organize information so that it's easier to access. So you'll see this theme of students, parents, and faculty. And you'll also see in other areas of the website the theme of community. Okay, so in some of the marketing material that our web partner uses, they talk about being a storyteller, and I thought, what a neat what a neat thing, right? And we often talk about what we see in the news is often not necessarily the most positive stories. So using our website to allow us to be, a storyteller and to market and share all the great things that are happening here in Foxborough. Okay. So some of the other notable features, again here, you see these icons allow you to change the size of the copy, to increase the font, to decrease the font in terms of accessibility, but also to share content directly out with through social media if there's something that you'd like to share with family or friends, as well as the other integration, so that when we're sending out content, that content is reflective of what it is, throughout the different platforms in which we're using. So with social media being so prevalent now, it's often that people go to the Facebook page first, right? So we don't go to the website, we go directly to Facebook, we go directly to Twitter to see what's going on. One of the things that we're really focusing on is recreating our website as the authoritative source for information, that that our website always has the most current content, but our social media integration, the ability to post news or post information on the website and then seamlessly send it out as a tweet or post it to Facebook at the same time, allowing all of our information to be consistent, and that people are getting the same message, but relating back to our website, so our website's always has the most authoritative information on it. Okay. So this is a sneak peek, and again, in the next several weeks, we'll be rolling out this platform, and there'll be more to share. Just didn't know if anybody had any questions.
I think it's safe to say this will be very similar to, Office 365, where we started with a component of it and then built on it over time, and tried to use more and more of the pieces, for a lot of reasons. Obviously, there's a lot of teaching to do with, getting the staff up on it and getting students up on it too, as well as the community. But again, I think there's going to be a lot of resources out there for us to use and move forward with. So thank Aaron for getting us there with it.
A lot of work, thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you so much.
You're talking about launch date. Do you have a date?
We don't have a hard date right now, but we're targeting a date within the next several weeks. And again, wanting to introduce this to our students and staff who rely on this to take attendance, or rely on our website to take attendance, to access information and schedules, to give them an opportunity to become acquainted with it, and then producing a marketing or media campaign around the launch of the website and engaging families and the community as well.
Excellent.
Great.
Great.
Thank you so much,
September.
Aaron.
Very exciting.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Aaron. Wow, superintendent's entry plan.
Okay. So the entry plan here really is a quick presentation because it's all of the work that is yet to be done. As part of the new superintendent's induction program, which is, as you are aware, a 3-year program, it is a very important component. Being that I started January 1st, I'm in a little bit of a different situation. So I'd like to ask Dr. Maureen LaCroix to come join us at the table. She is my coach for the new superintendent induction program. She comes with a wealth of experience. She retired from the Bedford Public Schools as superintendent and has been superintendent in a couple of different districts. And before I talk a little bit about my plan here specifically, I'd like to just turn it over to Maureen for a moment.
Sure. Thank you, everybody, for making time for me this evening. I'm really excited to be here. As I was sitting here, I was thinking, when we talk about schools and we talk about school districts, we always focus in on what's the culture of that district and what do relationships look like in that district. So just sitting here tonight, sort of absorbing all of you arriving and absorbing the meeting to date, I was thinking, you folks are in a great place. I mean, because you can feel it, right? Mm-hmm. You can't always measure it. You don't always have, so what's the data to back it up? It's just a sense that you get of a district. So very excited to be here and to have the opportunity to work with Dr. Bertos. She is one of 41 brand new superintendents in Massachusetts for the current school year. It's the largest number, I think, that we've had in the induction program since it started. And this new superintendent induction program started 9 years ago. It's a partnership between the State Superintendents Association, MASS, and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. And it was started because there was a realization that with the turnover in the superintendency, and there's a significant turnover each year in superintendents, not only in Massachusetts but across the nation, that it was important to have a very thoughtful, well-designed program that supports people as they come into a job that's critical to your schools. The leadership and who sits in that chair matters a lot, and you know that. So this program is carefully designed. There are 13 coaches in the program, and as I said, there are 41 new superintendents this year. So the coaches support one another in their work, and then together we support the work of the 41 superintendents. For me, this is my first year as a coach, so I'm very pleased that I was able to come to Foxborough and do that work. I retired, as Dr. Berto said, a few years ago as superintendent of schools in Bedford, where I had spent 15 years, 4 as assistant superintendent and then 11 as superintendent of schools. And it was a joy to work there. It was a wonderful, wonderful community, and very proud to say our schools did well and continue to do well. When I left Bedford, retired, I stayed retired for a couple of months, and then went to work on a part-time basis as a special advisor to the Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education. And I was privileged in that position to work with our various associations, to work with the Superintendent's Association, the State Principals Association, and just got to learn even more, working sort of across the state and working with, terrific people that work in our schools. So here I am now, very excited to do this work, and hopefully we'll be able to support what I can already predict is a very talented superintendent sitting at that table. So very pleased to be here. Thank you.
So the entry plan really is the goal of developing strategy for improvement for the district. So you have the entry plan that is in your packet. I won't go through and read that, but just to point out a couple of different things here. It really is to provide an opportunity for me as the superintendent coming into this role, although I've been in the district, to look at it through a different lens when we look at all of the work that we're already doing. And my goals in undertaking this process really is to identify areas that are for further study, for continuous improvement, which I think that's one of the things that we do so well in this district. We're always asking those questions. How can we get better? What can we do more to meet our students' needs? And really to develop that strategy for growth based on what I learn, and that's going to be going about collecting information in many different ways, both quantitative data and qualitative data. The quantitative piece is very much what we talk about at this table. It's through our baseline and benchmarks report. It's through all of the other assessment pieces that we have, which is hard data and some soft data at the same time, such as perception data, looking at the culture and climate survey. That will be coming up. We have the results back from that. But then again, the hard data, the OECD test for schools, we now have that data back and we'll be reporting out here. So it's looking at all of that data that we already talk about, but also looking at it from the lens of superintendent, not just assistant superintendent. I'm really fortunate, or we are really fortunate, that where Allison and I both have the curriculum background, this is the stuff that we love. We dig into this, as we've talked about. We get a little nerdy with it because we just love that. So it's looking at the data, but also it's a lot of interviews and focus groups that I will be conducting with the community, with teachers. I've started that already with having individual meetings over the summer at our administrative retreat where we had 30 people on Monday asking the questions, what do you value about the Foxborough Public Schools? What are areas that you think that we do well, but also what are areas that you think that we can improve on? What are their expectations of me as superintendent? And then with the community and looking at those different focus groups, really asking them, how can we strengthen our partnership? We have such a strong community partnership with so many different organizations, but again, always looking at how that we can strengthen those partnerships. Students, staff, everyone asking those same questions. One of the things that I will be doing this year for the first time is creating a superintendent student advisory council. I'm super excited about that. That's going to consist of high school students. We're looking, Diana Myers-Pakla is working with me. She wants to be a part of that. So looking at having students representative from each of the grades that would stay, for instance, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And then as seniors graduate, we would bring in new freshmen, but the freshmen would stay within that advisory council as we go forward. I know Allison wants to join in as well. So I'm really fortunate in that something that's so important, everyone's vested in that. And the student voice is critical to learn from them what their thoughts are, what they experience, and to find out what they value about schools. They have a really important voice at the table because they are who we are serving. They are our customers.
Would that be in lieu of the Foxborough High School Council they already have that have a couple students on, or would you audition?
No, in addition.
Excellent.
And in some conversations with other of new superintendents, when they've talked about this, they've talked about, well, we have student representatives on our school committee. I said, we do too.
Right.
But I want more.
Right.
I want to
Oh,
talk to more.
absolutely.
You've known from the technology plan development, the focus groups that we've conducted, those are my best days. Those are my best days, and meeting with the students. At the STEM Expo with the middle school in the spring, one of the students said, I was on your focus group for technology. They remember, and so it really is so valuable to us as a district, to myself and my role, but for students, and they like talking about what's working well for them and where they think improvements should be made.
Great.
Observations, this is something that we do through our instructional rounds. This is very much a conversation that we have working with principals. Allison and I both do instructional rounds, but also are very visible in classrooms. And talking about with principals specifically, what are they really proud of? What's working well? What are some of their biggest challenges? And to be there as part of that, because I know that my job is really to lead through them, but we all lead together and to have that common vision. As far as the financial and operational information piece, that's obviously a conversation that we have here. We have a number of big items, if you will, or projects with the Borough School project, and then also completing here the athletic complex. That takes up time and really communicating back and how we can best do that, but being a very active member in that process. With you, being in partnership, this is the third year of the contract for our teachers and our educational assistants. So working with you, the school committee in partnership to negotiate and ratify a new 3-year contract for our membership. So that will be something that will be taking place this year. All of this work, it really does go back to what my core values and my beliefs about education are. It's something that people who have worked with me closely have a really good sense of. However, tomorrow at opening day, I will be very concrete with that and what that is and what it looks like and what it means. And that really comes down to 4 things. Students are first. All of the decisions that we make are in the best interest of students. It's students as being our customers again. We're here simply to serve them. The second one is that relationships are paramount. Relationships I value very much, my relationships within the community, with you as school committee members, with our teachers, with our staff, with our students. And that is also our student-teacher relationships. Research repeatedly shows student achievement is impacted, as well as the social and emotional well-being and mental health of our students when we have a positive culture and climate and those positive relationships. So we need those everywhere. Collaboration and collective responsibility are critical. You heard tonight with our maintenance and with our technology how collaborative our teams are. That is the strength of this district. It is with our teachers, it is with our administrators that we all do work together. But again, holding each other accountable, that collective responsibility that we have for students. And that's in professional learning communities with teachers, holding each other accountable. At times, if we have difficult conversations, that's okay. It's a matter of having those conversations and learning and growing from those. And the fourth one being respect and integrity are the foundations of a high-functioning leadership team. Be open, be honest, be visible. I really think that it's important to listen. The more that we listen, we actually hear. And that is critical to the success for our students. So having those core values driving what we do in this district, and those really are the core values of the district, but being able to take what we have in our strategic plan and taking that and really melding it down to what it is when we say the strategy of the Foxborough Public Schools. So in March, I will come back to you with the findings of what I've been able to synthesize with all of these data points that are here, and to talk about what I see and what I have learned from all in the district and where we're going to go from there to continue to make this great district continue, even greater, as Debbie Spinelli had said. Yes.
Great, greatest. Excellent.
Excellent.
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
So, as you heard from Dr. LaCroix, as far as her experience, when I found out who my coach was going to be, I won the lottery. I really did, because I've watched her present at Department of Education meetings, especially with the new education evaluation tool, that when that was implemented in 2012, to be able to have someone with the wealth of experience that she has. We've already had 2 full days over the summer with all of the other new superintendents. It really is about leadership and growth and professional development. It's not about the technical aspects of the job. It's really about taking the district and looking at our vision and going forward. So I'm super excited to have you as my coach, and she'll be also joining administrator meetings or going through instructional walks with us in buildings. So everyone else in the district will benefit from her experience as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, great meeting you.
See you around Foxborough.
You will, indeed.
That's great. Excellent.
The next thing we need to become aware of is the school committee needs a community liaison to the audit committee. And the term of Mr. Spinney has expired, and he has moved out of town, so he cannot serve again. And what we will need is somebody with an accounting background and some financial acumen. So we are hoping somebody will like to do that. One benefit of serving on this committee, you probably won't have more than 2 meetings a year. So it's not like every other week. So we're hoping that somebody will step forward and offer. Or if all of you know somebody who has some prowess in either of those areas, perhaps we could approach them.
Yeah, and basically the audit committee is responsible for not only reviewing the audit at the end of the year and things that come out of it as far as findings, but anytime we have major policy, financial policy changes in the town, the audit committee has to weigh in on those. So I think you remember a couple years ago, we had a rather large set of policy changes with how much our reserves would be and things of that nature. It's those situations that the audit committee gets together. It's not a regular meeting committee. It's not something that's a monthly or even, potentially could go for a year without anything if there's nothing really going on. But it is something that we need to have available to us. And
It's a 3-year term, I believe.
Correct.
But what's our time frame? I mean, how soon do we need to get somebody appointed?
I would
to the
say
audit committee?
it would be wise to try to get somebody appointed in the next couple of meetings, just because the audit itself will be coming up for this year, for the FY18 year. So.
Okay. And it probably would be appropriate to thank Mr. Spinney for his
Absolutely.
service to the committee for the last 3
Yes,
years.
even
He
though
was very critical in helping to write the financial policies that we voted on a
Well, if
couple
I
years
remember
ago.
correctly, didn't they make some contributions to different clubs and things, I believe, for us?
Well,
over
that
the-
as well,
over
but
the
his
period?
his time spent
His
on the
time
audit
spent-
committee
yes.
is what I was referring to.
Right. And he was a very contributing citizen is what I was aiming. All right. Okay, now we must move on to the school committee vote to approve the 2018-19 school district goals.
So when we had our conversations and really went through these 5 different goals in July at our meeting, there weren't a lot of changes. However, some of them were more about implementing plans, such as the strategic plan, the technology plan, versus developing those. But there was more conversation about the work out of the Bias and Discrimination Committee. So I think that if you look at the 6th bullet,
Under communication?
yes, under the first goal, communication, thank you. Build awareness and implement strategies and supports as identified and report findings from the program review for preventing and minimizing racial, ethnic, cultural, religious, or gender bias and/or discrimination in our students and schools. the build awareness piece is trying to get at, Tina, one of the conversations that we had at the table. Does that capture that?
It does.
Okay.
It does. I think what I was trying to get at, during the conversation was a continuation, and I think of the hard work that went into last year's review and of the Bias and Discrimination Committee, of the curriculum, and just a continuation of that process. So I think build awareness is perfectly, and implement strategy sounds, just captures what I was trying to get at.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And even Allison, if you want to talk about Dr. Khalees, that will
Sure.
be here this week.
We're really fortunate. We have Dr. Khalees Warnham coming to speak
great.
with our entire faculty and staff, so that's everybody pre-K to 12, educational assistants, and all of our support staff. And she's going to use the outcomes of our report from our committee work to build a day of professional development where she builds awareness and fortifies teachers' toolboxes with strategies. So it's actually both of those things. And she's going to do some role-playing situations so that teachers can actually act it out and try it out and see how they feel. So it's really tailored exactly to the outcomes of that report. So we're really excited about that.
That's great.
And that's just the start.
Yeah.
That's fabulous, just the start.
Who's Dr. Khalees for him?
She's a Metco director. I'm not sure which. She's a Metco director, but I'm not sure. She's friendly with our Justinia
Okay.
Castro, who has seen her present multiple times, and this is a lot of the work that she does with people in districts.
Fabulous.
So she's really committed to this work and experienced in this work. So
She's the
Justinia
right
was very
person.
excited to recommend her. Yes, I
Wonderful.
spoke with her on the phone, and she's a very dynamic speaker. I'm excited. It's going to be a great day.
Great.
So as far as any other changes, the implement versus develop under that first goal. There really
Right.
weren't a lot of other changes. The second one, under student achievement, we had moved up, if you remember, the SEL program review to really put that at the top. And then the fourth bullet, implement strategies identified in instructional rounds to improve student motivation, engagement, and increase real-world application. That's our conversation. If you remember, we were really talking about motivation and relevance, and that relevance going back to that real-world application.
And some of that work is already happening through our partnership with the OECD. When we had our meeting recently, talking about specific strategies to work on that.
So any other questions or thoughts under goal 2?
They look good.
And then 3 and 4, we left those as is because those are pretty much something that's an annual focus. And the only other one under 5 for superintendent's performance was we eliminated the first bullet, which had to do with my transition into the position. So
We have transitioned.
I have transitioned.
Yes.
Very cohesive.
Yep, I covered it all. I think this reflects our discussion at our July meeting very well.
I do think it does.
We have to make a vote on this?
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion that we adopt the school district goals for 2018, 2019.
I second.
All in favor? Thank you, people. 500. Second reading of 2 of our policies. ADF wellness.
Make a motion that we waive the reading.
I'll second that.
All in favor? 500. Wait, 500. I now will entertain a motion to adopt.
Make a motion that we adopt policy ADF wellness.
Second?
All in favor? 500. Thank you. Okay, BDA, school committee organizational meeting. All we have done is change one word from secretary to clerk.
I move to waive the reading.
I'll second that.
All in favor? 500, waive.
I move to adopt file BDA, school committee organizational meeting.
Second.
All in favor of the adoption? 500, thank you.
Excuse me, Deb?
Yeah.
Where do we stand on that meal charge policy?
We were scheduled to have a meeting last week, and somebody had a personal issue, and was meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, great. So we should see something then on that in September?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
well, we still have to do a full first reading.
Right.
That's what we had.
That was my recollection.
requested,
I
yeah.
just wondered where, you know, that's fine.
It's in
Where we stood.
process,
Fabulous.
still in process. We now need to vote to approve warrant articles, Borough Project for October 1, 2018 at the special town meeting. Mr. Yukner.
So basically, in your package, you have both Article 10, which is the actual article that will be presented at town meeting, as well as the motion that will be presented, which details how and what the funding will actually be. Article 10 basically is asking for the town to appropriate and borrow and transfer money to actually do the renovation, reconstruction, addition of the Borough School itself. The MSBA has very specific language that they require you to use. The highlights of this is basically that they're looking for you to build a building that should last 50 years. I mean, most of our schools have lasted 50 years, and that's the intent to do this. We don't want to do it every 10 years. The other part of it is also outlining that it's, this is a discretionary program. However, the MSBA has always funded, once they've approved you into a program, they've always funded their share of it. Matter of fact, they've advanced the funding. Years ago, it used to be paid out over the time of your bonding, so it would be paid over 20 years. Now they virtually pay their share upon completion and audit of the project itself. So really the only thing that we carry going outward is our share of it on a bonding effect. And the other thing is that they require you obviously to bond the entire project. We've done this on everything before, and then you get to pull down anything that's their portion or any other monies that you have from what you bond. We've actually advanced from the 49% percentage that they were going to reimburse up to 56.1. We got large credit for the fact that we are renovating a building, as well as our energy efficiency programs that we're putting into the building. So that's what advanced us almost 7 points in the percentage.
Excellent.
The caveat that I always want to be very careful that everybody understands is that that doesn't mean we're going to get 56% of this project. Even though we have stayed within all of their guidelines on space and classroom curriculum and everything else that way, they only will fund up to a certain dollar level per square foot, which has nothing to do with what current construction costs are. It has to do with how much money they have and how many projects they're doing. So right now, their current funding rate is at $333 a square foot. Our current estimate is at $440 a square foot. So they'll fund us 56% up to that 330. Everything over that belongs to the town, and that's why there's a differential between what we're going to be asking for versus the what the state will end up giving us. In this particular thing, we've already put up $700,000 as a community out of free cash. That got us the first phase, schematic design and feasibility. We're going to be looking for another $33,971,567. Again, as much as 15 million, about 15 million for roughly, will be coming from the grant from the MSBA, assuming we spend all of our contingencies. So the differential to that, about $17 million would be the town's share of this. There are a number of things that have actually worked out very well thanks to the community's responsive financial planning. That is that there's $2.1 million already in a stabilization fund for this project, which gives us a starting boost before we have to go out to bond. There's money coming out of the overlay surplus, another $1 million in there. There's other funds that are going. So we're going to be with a little over $3 million that we're actually going to have that's cash today towards this project. Again, reducing what we'll be asking the town to bond.
Excellent.
So at this point, what basically the CIP committee met a week ago and unanimously approved this article moving forward. What I'm looking for is a motion from the school committee to accept the article and motion as written to move forward to town meeting on October 1st.
Should these be read out loud before we take a vote? For clarification?
You can. I don't know that it's.
Is it necessary? I mean,
It's not necessary, because these will actually be written for every taxpayer to see prior to the actual meeting and presented that way, so.
Done separately or together? Can we do them together?
Well, you're basically approving the posting of the article.
Article, right.
And the
Which-
motion is
the
just what
motion is just
supports
the
it.
language, right?
Correct.
So, we can do them together, I think.
yes,
I move we accept Article 10 in the motion as submitted today.
I'll second.
to be posted. Thank you. All in favor? 500. To be posted. Thank you, people.
And we go in Wednesday to the MSBA
Correct.
on that.
Yeah, so just kind of schedule so you have it. Wednesday's meeting with the board from the MSBA basically should be, based on all the pre-work that's been done, their approval of this project to move forward at this funding rate with the acceptance of the town, with the anticipation of the acceptance of the town. Nothing happens until after the town accepts. If for any reason the town weren't to accept on the October 1st, then basically we stop where we are with what we've spent to date. We have designed, and the school committee's building committee, has the plans that are basically completed at this point. You've seen those in models and different forms at this point, with a new gym that's a 6,000 square foot, which meets the MSBA's requirements for physical education within an elementary level. We are eliminating the auditorium and putting a stage within that new gym, which is the current way they look at elementaries. We are adding 3 classrooms that are pre-K. In the original thing, we were thinking that we would be able to get away with 2 and repurpose some of the space to the third one. We knew we needed 3 because we've always had 3. But the reality is when the program was worked out and the space to accomplish other curriculum needs within the building was determined, we ended up with 3 classrooms. We also ended up obviously with new mechanical spaces because of the requirements of the new cafeteria. And it's storage and sanitation things within the cafeteria itself. So there was a lot of moving and changing within the building to meet the current codes, to meet the curriculum-based requirements of our program, and to meet the MSBA's expectations of what this building should be, to develop this final plan. So, while we asked for money over 2 years ago with a concept of what we were trying to do, obviously at that point in time, we did not have a finalized plan. Otherwise, we wouldn't have needed the money. So, we needed something to put a whole study together and really determine what was the right thing to do for this building. And I think that's what's come out of this program so far. It's been pretty much unanimous through the school building committee, which is an 18-member board. In looking at a lot of these decisions that have been made so far, there has really been no dissent within the committee itself as to the direction we're taking here. And that's nice because that committee is made up not only of the permanent building committee, but it's made up of members, obviously, of the administration with both Allison and Amy sitting on it. Also is made up of members of the town side with Bill Keegan and Randy Scollins and Roger Hadfield sitting on it. So we have a very diverse group that basically have been working on this for you in your, with your support, and obviously you are the ones who authorized them to do this. You will note that almost every article, the first article and this article, gives the authority of the school building committee to spend the funds that are raised. Reason for that is that committee is the committee that you've appointed, number one, to act on your behalf, but number two, it's the committee that's involved on the day-to-day actions. And we do bring things back to you, but it's, when it comes to voting approval on paying invoices and stuff like that, it is the school building committee that actually does that portion of it for you. No different than the building committee, which does it when we do it for any other town building. So.
Excellent. On to award of FHS track and bleacher bids, please.
So, we went out to bid after getting the funding in May to do the bleachers and the 8-lane track. We did hire Chris Huntress, Huntress Associates, who actually was the same engineer that did the turf field itself, and actually did give us a little help on the back baseball fields, but Jim DeVellis did a larger portion of that part of it. The good thing about doing that was Chris had a intimate knowledge of how that turf field was put together, the drainage and everything else, which was going to be, critical for us putting together a good bid package to go forward. We were able to get 4 contractors that, very qualified contractors, I will note, that bid on the track portion of it, and we got 3, the actual 3 bleacher manufacturers that were spec'd in the plan, all 3 bid on it. And the end result's even the more fortunate thing, it made it within our budget. So what we had done was actually, we had done a couple alternates for the track side of it, the base track itself, and then adding a separate area for the shot put, a separate area for discus, safety netting behind the goal post. So when we're having certain sports, field hockey, lacrosse and things like that, if someone walking behind the goal post doesn't get, baned by something going by. We had a couple other things, one that we're working on doing a portion of it ourselves, which is a storage shed. And the final one on that one was to have the long jump and triple jump be external to this whole track, meaning outside, not within the circles of the ends. That one, which would be an interesting feature, would be a little bit nicer as far as your long run, just turned out to be financially just not feasible, well over what any of us had anticipated, and quite honestly, just not worth the money. So we've gone through alternates 1, 2, and 3, and with Green Acres Landscaping and Construction being the lowest qualified bidder at $881,973, and they are my recommendation to the board to accept. And we should vote each one of these separately.
Yes.
So,
I'd like to accept the bid from Green Acres Landscape in the amount of $881,973 for the track.
I'll second that.
All in favor? 500.
so the second component is the grandstand and press box. In order to have a press box in the current standards for ADA, you also have to have a lift that can get anybody up to it. So we did this with 2 alternates. And the only reason, quite honestly, we did this with alternates is we potentially had the ability to do some of these on our own as well. But again, this worked out well for us and came in within our pricing. Dayton Plank Corporation was the low bidder on the actual base bid, and also with the press box and lift at $289,016. The combination of that and the track that you just voted came in at $1,170,989. We received approval at town meeting at $1,150,000, and we will be utilizing $20,989 out of our athletic revolving fund to make this tie together. So very, very fortunate. As you can see, the second, third, and fourth bidders on the top one and second and third bidders would have put us significantly over the budget. I think we were fortunate in Green Acres being the bidder because they knew the site, they knew what had been done in the past, and I think they were willing to be a little bit more aggressive in their bidding. The other ones, in fairness to them, don't have that knowledge, and obviously are going to put bid numbers that can, protect themselves. So I think that's quite honestly why we ended up where we did. But so
I'll make a motion to approve the Dant Clayton Corporation for the amount of $289,016 for the bleachers.
I'll second that.
All in favor? 500. Well, we made it through.
You see netting?
That was a lot tonight. We're now to other matters. Marilyn?
I'm good.
You're good?
Welcome back, everybody. Good luck. Have a great school year.
I'm actually good too.
You're good too?
Oh, we should mention what we've been doing. The fundraiser.
Oh, well, I will say, our brick fundraiser is moving right along.
Oh, good.
We've sold about 60 bricks thus far, and we've extended our deadline through the end of September, so it is not too late to do that. And I'll be at Athletic Night on Thursday to hand out forms to anyone who wants one.
We've been at the farmer's market, handing them out there, and people have been contacting us, so they can contact either one of us if they
Very
need
good.
forms. Yep.
I'm glad you extended it, because I think with the startup of school,
It
it
was,
will,
it was the timing. Yep.
yeah, it'll generate
That's right.
some more in it. Because, you know, when you do it in late spring like that,
Everything's going on.
so many things are going on, and school's kind of winding down.
That's correct.
Was good to extend it.
Just, we have our exciting week of professional development plan, and I know our teachers and students next week, but teachers are excited to, I've seen so many of them in the buildings getting ready, and they're excited to get back in here,
Well,
so.
I have carefully studied it tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday, and I'm glad all of our staff and teachers have a long weekend.
They're going to be exhausted.
It looks like a bit of a marathon for
Yes,
them.
it's a robust schedule, but it
Yeah,
will be
the
good.
robust.
Yes,
Use that summer energy.
yes, that's right.
Stored up sun energy.
Exactly.
Mr. Pearson?
I actually just wanted to point out one of the informational items with our athletic director, Rich Cormier. I don't know if you know, but the NIAAA certification has 3 different levels of certification.
I was going to mention that, but go for it.
It begins
This
with a
is-
registered athletic administrator, then it moves to a provisional CAA, then CAA, which is what he received, and then there's another level above it. But what's really important to know is that the athletic director took it upon himself to take those courses to advance his profession. And so we are incredibly fortunate that he was willing to do that, able to do it, and passed everything. So it puts us in a good place, because the decision-making that we do with athletics at this level is critical, important, and it's great to have someone with his expertise. So congratulations to Rich.
Right, to earn this distinction, he demonstrated the highest level of knowledge and expertise in the field of interscholastic athletic administration. And that was a voluntary certification process he challenged himself to do. So kudos to him. It's too bad we don't have enough time. We should have, you know, administrative and teacher highlights. We'd be here till midnight.
That's because we have a very talented staff.
Well, I know, but you know, I think once in a while we ought to throw out, extend the kudos to the public to make sure that they are aware that this is the quality of person that they are having lead their young people.
All I have is good luck to all the fall sports teams this season.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Dr. Beer?
So last week, we welcomed 15 new teachers for new teacher orientation, 2 full days of orientation for them. We had 7 new educational assistants that we welcomed. We also had 2 days of orientation for them, in addition to our administrative retreat that I had mentioned earlier on Monday. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of last week were, they were busy. Yes, they were busy. And just really super excited with our new staff that will be joining us opening day tomorrow. I like to call it our rah-rah day because everyone's so super excited. It's just a great day to get back, and then the 2 days of professional development. And then also just wanted to mention these wonderful cameras that you see around here now with Foxborough Cable Access, 6 new high-def cameras. So we're getting a little bit more of a close-up, I think. But they've also upgraded the equipment
Just what we need.
in the back room, too. So continuing to make the improvements, so thank you, Foxborough Cable Access.
Absolutely.
I had one more thing, Bev.
Please.
October 1st, we have a school committee meeting, same night as town meeting.
We're gonna have to work
So I don't know if we're gonna,
I think
So
we
we last
need,
time.
yes, we
Okay.
will need to bump it or,
if we can, yeah.
so perhaps we should put that on the next agenda, please.
the 19th, yeah.
Yes. I was going to double check that when
Yeah, right,
I
yeah,
heard,
when I
but
just
you've
wrote
got it
town
right
meeting and I
there.
saw that it was in there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, I just wish a very challenging, successful year to 250 teachers and 400 employees of the Foxborough Public School System.
And all the students.
And, yes, of course, and all the incoming students.
I make a motion to, I see you have the gavel.
I'm ready.
Motion
This
to
is a
adjourn.
hit.
Hammer it.
You
I'll
know,
second the motion.
physicality sometimes takes great weight. All in favor of adjourning? 500. Good night, everyone, and thank you.